Hello! It's time for another Listen with Rachel. One of the things I'm doing to introduce you to my brilliant new book, Magnificent Midlife, Transform Your Middle Years, Menopause and Beyond, is I am reading little snippets from it to introduce you to the book, right? And it's proving rather successful. Not successful, but it's proving quite popular. Doing my Listen with Rachel. I don't know if you remember Listen with Mother. When I was young, there was a radio program called Listen with Mother, so I thought I'd do Listen with Rachel. And I like reading from my books, quite fun. So I read the whole audio book in a proper studio, so it's rather more professional than perhaps you're getting here. But my son is messaging me. Back again. Crikey. Okay, don't fiddle with the screen, Rachel, when you're trying to do a live video. And let's hope my son doesn't keep popping up on the top. Right, so a little introduction to what my book is about, right, before I get into it. I'm going to need my specs. So we got the specs, right? So my book is in 3 parts. And the first part is part 1, Crisis What Crisis, Unpicking Old Narratives. And that is where I pick apart all of the negative narratives about women, midlife, women aging, rather not about women necessarily, but women aging and midlife and menopause and how we feel about those. And I look at other cultures and other traditions which are completely different, because we assume that the Anglo norms around women aging, midlife and menopause are normal. Well, they're not. Actually, there's lots of other places where they just don't think like we think, right? So that's part 1. Part 2 is embracing menopause and managing the transition with ease. So that is all about menopause. And I go through a lot of the symptoms that can come up during menopause. And I offer you all of the advice that I have learned since my early menopause at 41, which is 14 years ago now. So yeah, there's quite a lot of information there, right? Then part 3 is about crafting the future of your dreams. So it's all about working out what you want from your next chapter. And that is about 30% of the book, I reckon. So it's challenge the thinking, sort out the messy middle of menopause, and then get ready for your exciting next chapter. Okay, so today I'm going to read from part 3. And this is about building long-term resilience in body and mind, okay? And I'm going to talk about getting enough rest. Now, I cover this in the menopause section, but I felt it was so important that I cover it a little bit again in part 3. So here we go, getting enough rest. Rest, and most importantly, sleep, are crucial aspects of getting and keeping you strong for your next chapter. Once your hormones have settled down post-menopause, you may find sleep is no longer an issue, but for many women it remains a problem area. Sleep is so important, I felt it warranted some extra attention. Matthew Walker, Professor of Neuroscience and Psychology and Director of the Center for Human Sleep Science at the University of California, has written a fascinating book called Why We Sleep: The New Science of Sleep and Dreams. In it, he says that short sleep duration predicts short life. Scary, huh? He found that adults 45 and over who sleep less than 6 hours a night were 200% more likely to have a heart attack or stroke compared with those sleeping 7 or 8 hours. Claire! Hello! Just saying hello to Claire. Hello, Claire. So I'm reading from my new book. Have you got it yet? There's a deal. I haven't forgot to say that. Yes, there's a deal still today. It was a Black Friday deal. It's become a Cyber Monday deal, but it's still, the code is Black Friday, all caps. You go to magnificentmidlife.com/book and you can get the ebook or the audio book narrated by yours truly. So anyway, I'm talking about sleep. Right, so let's get back to sleep. So insufficient sleep increases blood pressure and stress levels, so your heart rate increases. It's bad for you. It's also linked to how we deal with stress. But if you're completely on top of stress management and on a Zen cloud all day long, you're probably not going to suffer even if you don't get a full 8 hours sleep. Let's keep this in proportion. The last thing I want is for you to get stressed about getting enough sleep and lie awake worrying about it. The longer we sleep, the more chance we have of getting the right quality of sleep too. We sleep in cycles of about 90 minutes, and these shift from one stage to another, both of which we need. The early stages of sleep are dominated by non-rapid eye movement, non-REM. As we sleep longer, we shift into the deep, slow wave sleep phase, which is dominated by rapid eye movement, REM. If we don't go to sleep early enough, we limit our non-REM sleep. If we wake too early, we miss out on REM sleep, that period when our most vivid dreaming usually happens. It might be worthwhile to avoid watching any overly stimulating or scary TV before you try to wind down into gentle, restful sleep. Remember your getting to sleep routine, which is in part 2. We're in part 3 now. Make sure you also allow enough time for the sleep you need. If you need to get up at 7 a.m. and you're aiming for 7 to 8 hours of sleep, make sure you're in bed by 11 p.m. at the latest. If you know it'll take time to drop off, or you're likely to wake up and struggle to get back to sleep, try going to bed even earlier. The Tapping Solution app mentioned earlier has some great meditations to help with both getting off to sleep and achieving deep sleep. The Calm app has lovely sleep stories for adults. As mentioned earlier, if you're lying awake, don't forget to try meditating. Count to 10 over and over, or repeat a mantra in your head, or listen to a sleep meditation on your phone. Try Insight Timer, but don't get caught up in messages or social media at the same time. If thoughts are keeping you awake, try to ignore them, but don't turn getting back to sleep into another task. The harder you try, the harder it will be. Like many things in midlife, it's all about letting go. Many people believe technology such as mobile phones, tablets and modems can impact sleep. I slept in our living room where there's a modem and a big TV for several nights. I didn't sleep well. It could have been the street light outside or the technology or something else, who knows. But I think it's worth trying everything, so if nothing else is working, try removing technology from where you sleep. So that's my little section about sleep. Thank you very much for listening to me talking about sleep. And then I go on to talk about protecting your brain. I talk about Dr. Mosconi, who's written a wonderful book called The XX Brain, particularly about protecting women from Alzheimer's. So there's a lot of research about that. I talk about building confidence going forward, because when we step into our magnificence, that usually requires some confidence. Yeah, so it's cool. So that was all about sleep from the section on building long-term resilience in body and mind in part 3 of my book. And if you go to magnificentmidlife.com/book, if you use the code all caps Black Friday still, you can get my book for just $1. So you can get the ebook or the audiobook narrated by me. If you want a paperback, you've got to go to Amazon and pay full price. But if you want the ebook or the audiobook, you can get it, from my website. So there you go. So thank you very much for hanging out with me and listening to me read my book. So this has been another edition of Listen with Rachel. And so go get the book, because I'm planning to change the world with this book. That is my plan. And my latest Amazon review was so lovely. Basically said all menopausal women should read this book. And that's what I believe, because I want to change all the narratives. I want to turn it all on its head, because for too long we have thought about menopause as the beginning of the end, and I think it's the beginning of the new beginning, and it can be an incredibly exciting time for us. So there you go. So thank you very much for hanging out with me. Go get my book. If you have midlife friends, mothers, aunts, cousins, neighbours, friends who you think would appreciate having a different view on ageing specifically and women getting older, then buy it for them. I think it's the perfect Christmas gift. All right, so thanks for hanging out with me. Bye now.